Why do you think women are often shamed for wanting a successful man? And how do you define a successful man in modern times?
Who are they shamed by?
I think culturally, societally, there's certainly men kind of like to your point that will say, see, all she wants is money,
Mm.
or, you might be considered shallow or something if you're somebody who is,
Hmm.
wants a guy who's hot, wants a guy with big muscles.
Yeah, I mean, the vast majority of men out there today are plugged in beta males mostly, right? So when they discover that women don't respond to a nice guy and that they respond to tall, masculine, competent, successful, high testosterone Q, influential, all that stuff type of men, then they
Hmm.
often get mad. And that's when they unplug. But now they're unplugged beta males. They're still beta males. They're just
Okay.
unplugged now. Now they're like, oh, I see women aren't responding to me just being a nice guy and a shoulder to cry on sort of thing. So that's the difference, between those two sorts of areas.
I think now we're sort of reaping the consequence of that women they don't pursue successful men. It's like
I think
it
there's
has
two parts of
caused
that.
collectively, like I feel like
Yeah.
we've collectively lowered our standards because of that.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, I think there's two parts to that. I mean, like one part is there's a lot less visibly competent men out there today. The vast majority of women in university programs, sorry, the vast majority of
Hmm.
graduates in university programs are women today. So there's more
Mm.
women earning more degrees. There's more women that are independent. There's more women that are, buying their first home before men.
Hmm.
Like by every metric, women are generally doing better than young men today. So that's leaving a bit of a vacuum. And then there's more successful women out there and less successful men. So, like, part of culture and society is saying, you shouldn't chase a successful man. Like, just find a good enough guy, maybe, like,
Right.
or some version of those narratives. And I think that's not, I mean, it's unwise, I think, for women to follow that advice because then you will find yourself in a situation where you haven't optimized your hypergamy. You end up with a guy or end up marrying a guy that's not your first choice or your second choice. He might be your third, fourth, or fifth choice. And
Mm.
you may not be that attracted to him, but he may be just good enough. And he may be the guy that's just around because you're in your early 30s and you've run through options and your biological clock is ticking. You want to have kids and guys aren't committing sort of thing. So, you hear these things like, well, just find a guy, like just find a guy that's good enough sort
Right.
of thing.
Yeah, just find somebody who loves you.
Yeah, and that doesn't really work out because then you end up landing a guy that you're not enthusiastic about. Maybe you have a couple of kids, maybe you don't. A lot of the times, the kids come, and then a few years down the road, she's like, "Oh, well, I got the kids now, and this guy's got enough money, and I don't really like him." And Sally and Becky and Sandra over there seem to be happy, divorced with their kids in tow as single moms. So I'll just divorce him and take the kids, and I get half of his
Mm.
stuff, right? Because family law rewards women to do stuff like that. So
Hmm.
like there's all these like consequential vortexes of BS that sort of follow bad decision making, and it's men and women that make really bad choices. Like,
Yeah.
in schools today, I've often argued that there should be a comprehensive program that educates boys to what men are, what women find attractive, and educates women or girls to what men find attractive.
Hmm.
But they put way more focus on hair and aesthetic classes, mathematics, accounting. I mean, there's no guy
Sure.
that's ever looked at a woman's accounting degree on the wall and been like, "Oh yeah, look at that accounting degree, man, that's hot." Mike, check it out. Like that's a hot account. We don't care.
Yeah.
We don't care. We
Yeah.
want to like we'll look at you walk away in yoga pants. We'll look at that, but
Sure.
we don't care about your degrees. We just don't. So that's just one of the many lies that women hear from culture today. And,
Yeah.
as a consequence of that, you're like, well, I'll go chase the degrees and I'll find somebody that's my equal, is what they usually hear.
Hmm.
But women don't really like an equal. They want to be able to look up to a
Yeah.
giant. They want to be with somebody that they admire. There
Hmm.
always has to be, or not always, but ideally there should be, I should say,
Hmm.
a adorer and the adored. And the adorer role is better suited for the woman.
Yeah. Why do you say that?
because she satisfies her hypergamy. She's able to look up at a guy and be like, I adore him. He's successful. He's masculine. He can fix things. I don't have
Yeah,
to ask him to
yeah,
do stuff. He's not a moron.
yeah. And from the man's point of view, is that what makes you feel fulfilled as well in a relationship, to feel adored?
There's no better feeling, and I didn't hit this level until my 40s, but there's no better feeling as a man to be in a relationship with a woman that admires, adores, and does things for you unprompted.
Mm-hmm.
That is a compliment to your life, that is respectful,
Yeah,
that is enthusiastic for you in the bedroom. Most men's experience in a relationship is starfish sex. You go to the Reddit forums or whatever online, and like, the biggest complaint in most long-term marriages from both men and women is I can't get my spouse to have sex with me, right? Like they're just not attracted
really.
to me, right? So
Yeah.
there's all kinds of things that come out of that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so good. And I feel like so a lot of my viewers kind of know my story that I talk about, but I was just not like the way that I was raised, I didn't have an example. Like I wasn't even, as far as my parents, given like the wrong idea. I was just given nothing. Like I was just kind of set up for failure. And so I went through my teens, 20s, my dating life, kind of trial and error.
Hmm.
So started off, had a very, like I said earlier, sort of feminist mindset, because that's what was coming down from culture, right? That's what was on TV from school, all of that. And then, when that wasn't really working out for me, it was kind of like, well, let me try this, try the nice guy, someone who just loves me and be
Hmm.
good to me and, be nice. He's likable. And then that didn't work. And then it was just all these different things. And I feel like I've kind of landed on what you just explained, that and sort of owning it despite I may have had to wait a while given the way guys are nowadays. But
Hmm.
I have a moderate level of success, higher than my peers, and I have a very achiever mindset. I want to get a lot out of life, whether that be relationships, traveling, fun, health, job, all of that. And so I feel like I've landed in this place where I have to find a guy that's doing more than me. Like I
Hmm.
have to. There's no way around that, despite how frustrating that truth might be,
Welcome
because
to reality.
yeah, the dynamics of the alternative are miserable. I mean, it will crumble every single time if the woman's doing more, and you'll start to resent him or not respect him, and that chips away at his confidence. He becomes insecure, so he might just ghost you, hurt you, or you might end up in just this miserable relationship with, as you call it, a beta man.
Hmm.
And the hard part about that truth is that there's not a lot of these high value, successful young men running around. And so we're stuck in this place of situationship land, because you've got women who are going, no, well, wait a minute. We do have standards. We want a guy who's doing more. We want a guy that we look up to, but where
Hmm.
are they? And so that was kind of the second half of my question is, well, how do you define a successful man? What is it that we should be looking for?
I mean, you can summarize it this way and just say, a successful man is a man that other men want to be and women want to be with.
Okay.
That's really what it just boils down to. So
Yeah.
contextually, that's going to be different in an Amazon tribe in Brazil. That's going to be
Hmm.
different in Nigeria, with hunter gatherers. That's going to be different in China, Japan, Great
Sure.
Britain, London, America, obviously. But for the context of North America, that's a guy that's got it. He gets it. He understands what women respond to. He's competent. He's successful. Drives a nice car. Dresses well. Is resourceful. Has a good network. Can offer wonderful experiences to her. There's a whole bunch of things that I could keep going on about, but I think you know what
Hmm.
that avatar looks like. There's just not a lot of guys that tick off all of those boxes, right?
Yeah. Where does, so I agree with all those points, but where does
And most
sort
of them,
of,
by the way, are older too. So they're not 30, they're
yeah,
45, 50, 55 or older, right?
right. You're gonna definitely have better odds the higher in age that you're going. Where does sort of the morality and spirituality fall into that? Because there's also this extreme of those type of guys that are like had a guy recently, he said there's some guys that are just like Captain Save-A-Ho, and these are the
Mhm.
guys that are like out at the clubs buying bottle service. And that's like one extreme level of wealth and success. Then they're going to go down that road. So where's the
Yeah.
balance? Where do you, when it comes to a successful or high value man, where does morality fall into that?
Well, one of the uncomfortable truths of a successful man is women have to kind of surrender themselves to the notion or the idea, whether it's real or imagined, that they're probably sharing him. The vast majority of men that have done anything with their lives, that have achieved some level of success, that have a network, are not monogamous sexually. They can be monogamous from a relationship perspective. They can give 100% of their commitment, but they don't always give 100% of their sexual commitment to a woman, right? So
Hmm.
that's just part of being a man. That's how men are wired. That's how they're built. Um, and I see women get very uncomfortable, like you just did there. You know, when you say
Hmm.
something like that, and they sigh, or they're like, I don't know, can I make that concession? I don't know if that's in me, sort of thing. But that's the reality of the sexual marketplace. I mean, I've done this now for 10 years. I've had uh, I mean, I think about 1,000 private consults with some very interesting, powerful men out there that are politicians, top shelf athletes, public figures. I won't mention any names. I've also had a lot of people call in on my podcast, so I've seen the spectrum of men and women out there over the years, and I know a lot of them very personally and intimately. Along with the guys that I've met in my community, like I have some real weapons in my community on the inside, some very successful men.
Hmm.
And very, very few of them are sexually monogamous to women. All right, guys, I really hope that you enjoyed that clip. If you want to check out the full length podcast episode, you can find that right over here. Also, make sure you visit my website over here where you'll find my supplements, the opportunity to book me privately one on one for coaching, and most importantly, my new School of Unplugging, which you'll find on the courses tab. Newer to the channel, hit subscribe.